I've had my hands full with a couple boards from Roselsa, including this one I have right here, the ceramics MK2. Roselsa makes some interesting boards. The MK2, for instance, does these boards have this board look, which is not something you'd see very frequently these days. Most manufacturers right now just opt for the board on a stick form factor. Anyway, they look good on first impression. Not quite sure why the form factor went out of vogue, but today I'll be dissecting the MK2 to see if every other thing about it is good or perhaps great. Now let's start off with the design. This board style design is kind of refreshing to see because I do think these are more stealthy if you compare them to the now popular board on a stick look. The boards themselves look and feel very premium. Love this metal detail here. I'm sure it serves no purpose, but it's a really good look. There's some brand lettering on the outer surface, and usually I'm not a fan of that, but it's in very tiny print, and in a weird, or should I say surprising way, it makes these look more sophisticated. Usually it's the other way around with brand lettering. They make boards look tacky. Build quality is great. No overlapping panels or space between the panels like the stuff you'd see on the Soundpiece C30. In fact, in low light, which was what I had when I first tested these boards, it looked and felt like the whole board was crafted out of one solid piece of plastic. If you look closer though, you can see the joint between the two parts of the plastic that makes the composite outer shell. The case has a solid feel to it as well, opens and closes with a premium thunk, no wobbles or creaky sounds when you put it to the stress test. One nice touch is it seems like the case is made from the same solid looking material as the board. Certainly feels that way to touch, and overall I would say these look like they would stand the test of time. So how do these feel in ear? Overall, the fit is secure, although you need to push these way more in ear to achieve a tight fit. And you can see the plastic tip is smaller than what you'd get on the typical board on a stock earbud to facilitate this. That has implications for comfortability because the mere fact that these sit deeper in ear means they elicit that feeling of fullness more than the typical board on a stick earbud. But it's not that bad. I'd say it just takes some getting used to, especially if your last earbuds were board on a stick. Even though the fit is secure enough for walking around the house and stuff like that, these are not the first boards I'll pick if I wanted to do a workout routine. Certainly not the boards for jogging or running. They weigh about 4.3 grams, so on the lighter end of boards in this category. I'd say they were more comfortable over time than I'd expected given their form factor. You'll get some ear fatigue if you use this for long enough, anything from the second to the third hour, but that's to be expected for an in-ear board at this price point. Now, what do these boards pack? These boards come with support for LDAC audio, active noise cancellation. They're IPX4 rated, they have Bluetooth 6.0, and they've got touch controls. So the typical stuff you'd expect from a board at this price point, it's missing fastpair tech, and usually I'd give a pass for boards in this category that were made anything from like early last year and back. But these were released late last year or early this year, not quite sure. And you'd expect them to have fastpair tech. Boards that were released even before the time they were released, like the Meloboards N60 for instance, come with that technology. There's no wireless charging too, but only outlier boards like the Meloboards N70 have that in this price category. Anyways, let's talk about the things it does have, starting with active noise cancellation. ANC on these boards was good, I would say. It has a 40 dB rated suppression system according to ceramics, and while that's lesser, so to speak, than what you'd get on recent gen boards like the N70 or N60, or even older stuff like the CMF Boards Pro 2, in my experience, it did perform at a similar level to those boards, was certainly better than the supposedly better system on the Soundpiece C30. In my living room, it was great at filtering off TV sounds and background talk, suppressed TV sound even to the 70% volume level, which is what I got when I was testing the 56 dB rated system on the Meloboards N70. outdoors, and again, it was quite good at blocking out background chatter and pretty much every other type of noise. High-pitched noises, something like birds chirping, gets through quite easily, but that's something I've observed with pretty much every ANC system on boards in this category. I think this good to great noise cancellation performance, even though this has a lesser rated noise suppression system, is mainly down to the tight ear tip fit and the good seal it creates. In any case, if ANC is your primary concern, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the MK2. Like I said earlier, these boards are IPX4 rated, and that means they can handle light water splashes, sweat from a workout, or maybe a dip in a swimming pool, but I wouldn't recommend using them for that. Not up to par with what you'd get on something like the Melobuds Pro, which has an IPX5 rating, but the difference in real world terms between these ratings is not so much. For the water resistance scenarios you're likely to subject this to, it's hard to tell apart how an IPX5 rating, for instance, outperforms an IPX4 rating. So these boards ship with Bluetooth 6.0, which is pretty much standard at this point for boards released this year. Basically, every recent Gen TWS earbud ships with Bluetooth 6.0, so this is not so much a differentiating factor. For touch controls, I'd say the touch sensitive area on the MK2 is wide enough, probably wider than anything I've tested recently. It's responsive and accurate overall. I didn't have any issues with using it to control my music playback. Now to the meat of the matter, sound quality. The overall tuning on these comes off to me to be treble leaning, but not really in a way that makes it unbalanced. It definitely has a decent amount of bars and mids, just that the detail on the sub bars is a little bit thin if you ask me. Mid bars, upper bars, still very good. The details on the mids is okay-ish. I would say it's not as warm as boards like the CMA Buds Pro 2, but overall, this managed to deliver very clear and sharp sounding instrumentals to make for an engaging listening experience. And that applies to the vocals as well. I think the presentation of vocals on these boards is one of their strong points. It's clear and very precise, which is what you'd expect since these boards come off as being treble biased. The emphasis on trebles does add a bit of shimmer to the overall sound profile, similar to what you'd find on boards like the OnePlus Buds 3. It's such that the overall texture or timbre, if you like, is a little bit dialed down, and somehow that just works to make the soundstage feel kind of open. I like it. Certainly it doesn't sound as compressed or muddy like the Soundpiece C30, but if you're the type that wants a deeper music listening experience with very deep bars, then these might not be the best suited boards for you. As far as the sound quality on calls goes, these are great. The 40 dB ANC system, paired to how deep these sit in ear, make them great at taking calls in pretty much any conventional setting. The audio quality of the mic is decent as well, and it works good even in very noisy settings. Let's quickly just take a few samples from the mic. So I've got the Ceramics MK2 in here now, and it's time to do a quick mic test. So mic test 1 2 1 2 4 5 6 A B C D H K L M N O P, whatever, however. There's a bit of background noise in the form of birds chirping and some random animal noise. I also think there's a plane flying overhead. So with all of that, how does my voice come out on the Ceramics MK2? I expect it to be good, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. You can adjust the sound profile with the EQ settings on the Roselsa Link app, as well as customize the ANC mode. For ANC, there's like 4 main settings: ANC on off, wind, normal, and transparent. ANC on toggles the default ANC system on, Wind is what you want if you're outdoors in windy environments, like say in a car with the windows down and such. Normal tones of ANC and transparent makes it easier to hear what's going on around you in the background, even with ANC on. So good for outdoor walks where you need to be conscious about traffic. You can also adjust the intensity of the ANC with the noise reduction level tab. There are options for deep, moderate, and light. I just found myself using the deep setting most times. Overall, I would say the app is very clean and minimalist, which is a nice touch, especially when you consider the bloatware that is some companion apps from brands like QCY. Very impressively, this doesn't ask you for your email or any sign-up information for that matter when you try to use them. So how's the battery life? For a board at this price point, you're expecting anywhere between 5 to 6 hours of active listening, even with ANC on, and in my test, this lived up to that expectation. Without ANC, they can stay on for up to 8 hours or so. Charging is via the provided USB-C cable, no wireless charging, but I think only the Melobuds N70 has that on board in this price category. So all said and done, what's good, what's bad? What's good? Good design, great audio quality, great battery life. What's bad? I would say nothing really. It's hard to pick one thing to say, yeah, this is where the MK2 definitely falls short. Maybe the pricing, I think this retail for about 30 bucks on a good day, and that's money enough for the QCY Melobuds N60, which I think is a better buy than this, all things considered. So all that said, should you buy the Roseselsa Ceramics MK2? You know when they say someone or some person is the average Joe? Yeah, for me, the MK2 is an average Joe as far as budget TWS earbuds are concerned. Not a bad board, does almost everything all right, and is priced decently as well. But if you were to ask me what makes these boards stand out, you're going to have me scratching my head to answer that. Probably the design. It's hard to come across good or decent boards in this form factor these days, and it's a form factor I kind of dig. It's subtle and it's undercover, if you like. If you want a board that looks like this and ticks all the other check boxes you would consider important, then yeah, you should consider the MK2. Otherwise, there's a huge selection of budget TWS earbuds that stand out in many good ways, with some of them even cheaper than this.